The name of the message is Europe Getting Ready or Ready for the Antichrist. So I'm not going to put much of the emphasis on the Antichrist. Thank God I don't know who he is and don't wish me to know who he is. I'm going to put the emphasis on Europe, and I want to tell you something. Very few times in my short life, I got to the point where I nearly passed out just from seeing something or being in the presence of something. I normally try to keep my act together and to pretend that I'm fine and I'm tough and everything is fine. And the first time I led a group up on the Temple Mount, which I don't do anymore, the place is completely given to Satan, I believe. The first time I came, I approached the Dome of the Rock, and then, of course, I stood right in front of that marble slab, and I saw that face of the beast looking right at me. And you can clearly see that it's that marble slab on that corner, and this is what you get to see. And by the way, that's a natural formation of the marble. Nobody painted, nobody created that. This is what the marble had inside when they placed it over there. And I remember I saw it and I nearly passed. I felt such demonic presence right there. I totally believe that starting from Ezekiel 8 and then 10, the Spirit of God left that place long ago. I mean, on to the Mount of Olives and departed from that place, and as people worshiped Tammuz and other deities in that place and completely abandoned the worship of the true and the living God. So that the temple was still there when nobody really worshiped God in that temple, and that could be the picture of many of the churches nowadays. Buildings are beautiful, facilities are so great, but is it really truly Jesus that is being worshipped in those places? And so, next time is when I visited the upper room and I was walking with my group downstairs from the upper room. And again, I nearly passed out and I didn't know why. And, about 2 weeks later, the municipality of Jerusalem trimmed some of the plants on the railing that led to one of the upper rooms nearby. And I saw the symbol of the Freemasons, and apparently I was standing in front of lodge number 2 of Har Zion, Mount Zion, which is one of the 3 most important Freemason lodges in Israel. Now, I didn't know it's there until a couple of weeks later. But the third time it happened to me, it was last month. I arrived in Europe, in Amsterdam. I had a room right in the area of the Dam Square. And I remember, got off the cab, got into my room, and then immediately put the stuff and went out to walk around. And within 2-3 minutes, I ran back to my room. And I was there to write something, to have several meetings there. And every single time I left my room outside, within 10 minutes, I ran back. I couldn't even breathe. And then we had an interview with Jan. The last one I had was from my hotel room in Europe. And that is the moment it dawned to me. I am in the heart of the kingdom of the prince of this world, and I am in the heart of the place that is already prepared for the rise of the Antichrist. And let me tell you, I try not to be sensationalist. I hate those things that people try to throw names and places, but I never ever bought that thing that the Antichrist is a Muslim, simply for 3 reasons. 1, I don't know a single Jew that will ever claim that a Muslim is his Messiah, including myself. 2, I don't know any single Muslim that will have peace with the Jews. And 3rd, I don't know a single Muslim leader that will actually allow the Jews to have a temple on the Temple Mount. So, that alone is, to me, absurd to even think about. However, looking at the history of my people and seeing, even in the recent years, the way we view world leaders coming from the western part of the world as they attempt to bring peace to Israel, the way the Israelis behaved when Bill Clinton arrived in Israel, to sign the Oslo Accord and all the ceremonies in the peace with Jordan, and the way Obama arrives in Israel and everybody's rolling the red carpets all around, even though we're not big fans of him. Even then, when he comes, everybody is so excited. I want you to understand, we're not excited about Muslim leaders, but we're very excited about Western worldly leaders. And Israel doesn't want to become like the Muslim world, but Israel always wants to become like the Western world. And it's interesting how Europe is really getting there. I've been reading Anne's book, Prayer of Daniel, which really changed my prayer life. Thank you. And of course, that gives me the chance to read again and again Daniel, because this is an amazing character in the Bible. And in his dream, we all know that there was that interpretation of that image made of 4 different materials: the head of gold, the chest of silver, the thighs of bronze, the legs of iron, and the feet partly of iron and partly of clay. We all understand that the head of gold was the Babylonians that were ruling at that time. And then we have the Medo-Persians, which is the breast and the arms of silver. The Greek Empire is the belly and the thighs of brass. The legs of iron are Rome, that ruled from 168 BC to 476 AD. And of course, the mystery has always been the feet of that big image, a feet that was a mix of iron and clay. And by the way, iron and clay cannot really mix. It's something that was made to be not really united. And we can see, and I'm going to try to show you how I believe Europe, or Western Europe today, is indeed that which the stone that Daniel looked at is shattering, the feet. The first 4 empires were fulfilled in the scope of Bible history. We've seen it throughout, whether it's Old or New Testament, all the way through the Roman Empire. But the 5th one, the Roman Empire, the new one, is to continue until its final dissolution in the 5th century AD. And then, of course, we have the feet. The only unfulfilled part is the feet, as I said. Iron and clay cannot mix. And that means that we're going to look at a very weak, disunited power that ultimately will be broken and smashed by a rock. Who is the rock? You know, Psalm 118, Matthew 21, Isaiah 8, Isaiah 28, 1 Peter 2, 6, 1 Peter 2, 8, 1 Corinthians 10, 4. The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. He will be as a sanctuary, but a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense to both the house of Israel, as a trap and snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Behold, I lay in Zion a stone for a foundation, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. Whoever believes will not act hastily. Behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he who believes on him will by no means be put to shame. A stone of stumbling and a rock of offense, and all drank the same spiritual drink, for they drank of the spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. I wish I had more time to go on and on and on, but we understand there's no other way to look at that rock that is going to smash that kingdom made of the clay and the iron. We see that. And nations and kings, as we just listened this morning with Dr. Mark Hitchcock, nations and kings and rulers wants to break that bond between God and his Son, Jesus. But we must remember, why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. The rock smashing the feet is definitely Christ in his second coming. So we have to be excited about 2 things. Not only about our rapture to be with him, but also about the fact that when he comes, we come back with him, and he will put an end to that evil empire that is going to be ruled by the Antichrist of that time. Now we know that Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon. Some say he built it. Well, Babylon in Hebrew is Bavel. Bavel goes all the way back to Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. We all know they went to the valley of Shinar to build a tower, and that was the Tower of Babel. The name Bavel in Hebrew is that God confused them. And so this is what the Tower of Babel looked like. As you can see, unfinished. They never finished it. God really smashed and destroyed it. This is an art depiction of what the tower would look like. The Babylonian Empire, destroyed by the Medes and the Persians in Babylon. And I'm going to show you how Babylon started moving. Watch this. So first of all, the Babylonian was destroying Babylon. The Persian Empire, which controlled Babylon, was destroyed by Alexander the Great in Babylon. The Greek Empire by Alexander the Great was destroyed by the Romans in that area of Babylon. And it's just that the Roman Empire was never destroyed in Babylon. It stopped right there. They were destroyed by the Germanic tribes, and not by Babylon, but in Europe. So Babylon was in Babylon and kept being Babylon throughout history as kingdoms rose and fell. But once it came to the Roman Empire, once it came to the western part of Europe, it actually stopped right there. This is where it stopped. And it's interesting because I'm thinking about those 10 horns that Daniel 7 mentioned, from which the Antichrist is going to come. And only Western Europe makes sense to me. We're talking about 10 different tribes, of which 3 don't even exist anymore.